Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to Synchronicity Web TV. I am your host, Nadiya Shah, and this is your moment of synchronicity. Well, I'm so excited to celebrate with you today, Roubina Khodadin. Now, she should be a familiar face. She's been on my channel a bunch of times already, and she always provides this like spiritual insight, and she'll connect it to astrological phenomenon as well. She's got her skills in astrology, but she understands herself as a healer and as a spiritual guide. And I think we're about to see how and why and the energy that she brings forward. I absolutely love it. And of course, Roubina is coming to Synchronicity University. I'm so excited that she's going to be bringing some of those skills to the January 2023 speaker series. Now, for a very limited time, you can choose your tuition rate as low as just $5 a class for just a couple of weeks left to do that. And so, yes, click on the link below, go to synchronicityuniversity.com, and you can learn more and sign up as well. It'll be Roubina that's teaching a class on North Node and South Node poles. So we're going to understand that in a new way here today as well. Roubina, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Nadiya, for having me here. Thank you very much. And hello, everybody.
Yes, and thank you again. Well, look, I know that you consider yourself and you are a healer and are a spiritual guide. And so can you talk about that? Like, how do you understand that?
When we are something, we don't need to understand it, we just are. But since we're on camera and we've got words, we've only got words to explain, I'll try give you a little hint of where I'm coming from. Does that sound good for you?
It sounds amazing. Yes, please do.
Okay.
I love it. I love what you said just now. Like when you are it, there's no need to explain it or necessarily intellectually understand it. I love that you said that. Yeah.
It's since I was little, I played that role without wanting it, without knowing it even, right? The role started through touch, massaging. Everybody would come to me. When I say little, I mean really little, right? As a toddler. Later, I played that sort of role within the family. Through college, secondary school, I think we say in the English countries, friends used to come to me with anything, and I would just blurt out and say everything, and then I'd be really tired. And throughout all these years, and that went on with other friends, with relationships, everything, right? Massaging, talking, touching. But throughout those years, I was in huge suffering for many reasons, right? So when I kept seeing that happening in my life, and even sometimes odd people like on the train or neighbors would come to me and say, anyway, you're a healer anyway. I was like, get away. Because I needed healing myself. And just to give you an example, at one point I thought, okay, I have to go to therapy or something because I have so much healing to do. And when I used to go to therapists, they would do something, you know, whatever, energy therapists, they do something, and then they look at me and they say, Roubina, sorry, I can't heal you. You have to do yourself. I was like, sorry? So I gave up. I gave up trying to heal myself. And I kept having this role in life. Sometimes even in houses, I would get somewhere. And for some reason, when I left, people would say to me, lucky you came, because now we couldn't sell the house. Now we're selling it. I was like, good for you, but I don't want all that stuff. Until my body broke, i.e. I had an illness and I couldn't move. And that's the time when I connected to the supernatural forces, which I call God. And I said, okay, whatever, I couldn't even move my hands. I'm saying this now, but at the time I couldn't even move my hands. I said, okay, look, I didn't say like that, right? I was like,
well, why not?
Whatever.
Yeah, be like, universe, look. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, look, I went to the forest actually when I could move. but I couldn't even sit in a car because when I was sitting, I could feel all my organs going down. I've written that in my book, but it's in French at the moment. So anyway, just to say.
For those who speak French, yeah, all good.
Yeah, but anyway, I went to the forest when I could move, and then I was saying, look, whatever I'm supposed to be, I'll just do it, but please give me my body back. And this is how, little by little, at the time I was a choreographer and a musician, and this is how little by little I learned how you can heal through the voice, through movement, self-heal. And as I got my healing going on, of course, part of me wanted to say, okay, now I'll go back to being a choreographer. That suits me. But I remember the promise I sort of made. And I said, okay, fine. Whatever I'm supposed to be doing on this earth, I'll do it. And this is how my mission, I went on my path towards the North Node, I guess.
Yes, isn't that powerful? So you had this personal experience of understanding what it is that pull itself of the South Node and North Node pull in your own life. And that awakened for you as part of your own healing.
Still is, because not just the healing, but North Node, as you know, is where, your higher destiny lies. But my South Node, I'm a Sun Cancer, right? I'm a Cancer girl, okay? All I dream of is to have my little family, and I don't want to be in the limelight. And my South Node is in Cancer. South Node Cancer plus Sun Cancer makes me a Cancer who doesn't want to be in the limelight, right? So this pull is, at one point, it was towards self-healing and becoming a healer. And today, this pull is still there because part of me is like, oh, I just want to kind of meet the right person and just kind of hide away, and that's it. But as soon as I'm there sitting, talking to you, or I'm doing a conference or whatever, I can feel how much bigger and higher my purpose is. I'm not saying that if you are a housewife, it's not a big purpose. That's not the point. The point is that some people meant to be, to have a little family life, and that's it, full stop. My destiny isn't that, although it's my dream, and God knows it's still my dream. So what I'm trying to say is that this pull is still there, which is why I think I'm in a good place to understand what it can be regarding your purpose as in career, but also as in a daily living with that pull, because nothing ever is achieved, right? So it's not because it's my highest destiny to be a spiritual guide and a healer that I will be able to sort of, I don't know, let's say in 10 years' time, will I still be there? I don't know. Nobody knows. So we need to continue doing the work towards it. It's never ending.
And so you see our move towards the North Node as something constant that we will do over the course of a lifetime and try to perfect to the best of our ability, but it is the work of a lifetime.
Well, I guess it depends where your North Node lies, right? If your North Node is a place where there's many supporting aspects with that already, and let's say your North Node is somewhere in Taurus and there's Venus there and there's many other things there, and you're supposed to be an artist, maybe that's kind of easy for you to go to, right? So for me, North Node being in Capricorn, I've got nothing else there which is supporting me. So for some people, it will be probably maybe longer. It will require harder work, which is where astrology is beautiful, because it can help us understand ourselves without having to compare. Because it's not because for me, it probably has been longer and maybe will be a daily sort of work that for somebody else it will be. We're not all the same. So, which is where the beauty lies as well.
Yes, all the different ways in which that, like for you to have a Capricorn North Node, um, there are certain archetypal ways that some core lessons may come forward with other people who have a Capricorn North Node, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's identical, especially in the details. But even if the higher archetypal lesson is there and universal, the experience itself can be very personal.
Totally. And also the experience, and also how to say, some of us, it's difficult. It's not easy for me to say that because it might not give hope, but some of us are meant to learn it the hard way, right? And I guess this is probably one of the reasons some people who come and see me on individual consultations, most of the time, they are people who've tried everything, all kinds of therapy, all kinds of energy work, and they come and they say, look, Roubina, I just can't do it. It's like, it's not happening, right? So I would say that I lost track, but it's okay. That's my Gemini rising.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, the Gemini rising. Well, don't worry, you'll find the point. But
I
okay.
lose track. But anyway, yeah.
Oh, it happens. I mean, look, I have a grand trine in air. I get it. I will literally, like, bounce around with different ideas. I love the high of ideas. See, that's the thing. I love the high of ideas.
And also it depends who's in front of me, like who am I relating to? Because let's say I can feel your air energy, right? So right now I'm talking to you. I've got my feet really sitting on sit firmly on the ground, because of course there's the synergy that happens. And if I don't have my feet firmly there, I'll probably go even more ground in the ideas.
Yeah.
So in a conference or in a class, even if when there are many people, it works the same way. Because usually I will say, not usually, I will always say what I'm inspired to say. And just now I wanted to prepare this, but I wasn't kind of allowed to.
What do you mean? Oh, you
in
mean
the
like
sense
personally as part of your own journey? Okay.
No. I mean that I'm supposed, because I guess that's my mission. I'm supposed to be saying things that are supposed to be not false things, real things, right? But in the real things, I can choose to say A, B, C, D, E. So I will be saying things that I'm supposed to be saying for the people that are watching me. The way that I'll be saying it is a different way that when I'm giving a workshop to many people there or a conference there. I've got my personality, but how I will say things, how I will articulate the words I will use, are words that are inspired to me regarding who's around there. Even I don't know who's around there, right? But just to say that for the conference, it will be the same. There will be core things that I'll be talking about, but in terms of specific advice, specific guidance, I don't know how that works, but that's the way it works for me.
Oh, that's going to come forward. Yeah, I get it. It's like the perfection of the message. Like whatever message needs to come forward, it will be perfect for those at that moment who are meant to hear it and whatever it might inspire in them. And so, yes, you can have those core things that you want to say. And yet, when you allow inspiration, then there's a greater sense of faith that you have said what the listener might have needed to hear in that moment.
Yes, because also even when it's a group, I can feel many things in my body, because that's also how I heal, because I feel things in my body. So these things can happen again. I'm not trying to sell you some sort of massive healing session with Roubina, right? I'm just saying that this is also why sometimes some things will come out in a way and not in another way, or this is also how I will, the direction, we will all be on the same train, but the track that I'm going to take would probably differ if I'm doing this workshop for so and so and so, or for that and that and that person.
So let's talk about the actual, when you mentioned earlier, because I know that your talk with Synchronicity University. So again, everybody, Roubina is going to be part of the January 2023 speaker series. And for a very limited time left, just a few days left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class to learn from Roubina and the wonderful astrologers that you should be seeing on your screen right about now as well. So Roubina, let me ask you, because I know that you'll specifically be talking about the poles, the south and north poles. We talked about how the north node will pull you towards it, right? And it's the work of a lifetime. Does the south node also have pulls as well?
Of course it does. And this workshop is about recognizing that pull and making it a driving force and not going against it. So when we say pull, we kind of imagine something like that, right? That goes in two different directions. But as we know, if we go into opposite direction and we keep pulling, we might break something. So the point of this workshop is that, yes, there is the pull of the South Node. As I gave an example before, as a Cancer Sun and South Node, I've got a very specific dream and I've got a specific desire. And this is always, I would say, we could say it's always a pull, but I've decided to rephrase that and to re-feel that as if it's not a pull. It's my inner heart desire, right? And by accepting that it is an inner heart desire, it's not so much a pull anymore. It's just also who I am. So I accept that. The pull can come in many different ways. And before we've done a bit of journey, it can feel like a pull, which is why I called it South and North Node pull. So, but we can also make use of that pull to go towards the South Node. So again, a personal example, not because I'm egoistical, just because it might be easier for everybody to understand where I'm coming from, right? As a South Node Cancer, also Sun Cancer, what I like is I like to make sure that everybody's fine around me. I like to make sure that people are happy. I like to look after people. I like to nurture people. So this is, we could say it is a pull, but actually it is a quality. When it becomes a difficulty is when you only do that. So for me, in a sense, because for me it came naturally. I didn't have to decide that. But to give an example, all the healing sessions I do, even if usually I would say many words, but generally this gentleness, this nurturing, this caring is like, how to say, it's kind of, it becomes part of that so much that whatever I say, sometimes I might even say not harsh, but very direct truths in between inverted commas, right? But the way that I would smile and say this, or the way I would just be myself, it goes down better. So the South Node is a pull, but it can become a strength. And this is possibly where also what I also will be talking about in the workshop.
And so the South Node can also be a strength. That's
It
very
is.
powerful.
It is a strength. I mean, we often say you have to go to the North Node, right? You know, I did go and see many astrologers at the time I was suffering and all that stuff, and everybody pretty much told me, with much compassion though, right? They used to say, Roubina, I'm sorry, you have to stop looking for validation among humans. You have to go further. I was like, great. And so, so oftentimes we kind of want to go somewhere and feel like we have to reject where we're coming from. Whereas the point is that we come from somewhere, whatever you want to believe the South Node is, whether it's past lives, whether it's childhood, whether it's your inner nature, you still come from somewhere. So if you reject the somewhere you're coming from, then you're going to go somewhere else with an attitude which is not yourself. And you're bound to not necessarily fail, but you're bound to struggle in a different way. So, so the South Node is a strength as long as it doesn't become something we dwell in constantly.
That's very powerful to consider as well. The South Node can be a strength, but dwelling in it in some way doesn't end up honoring the pull of the soul, really, that pull of the North Node, which is where the soul wants to go ultimately in this lifetime. So we can draw on the South Node. It isn't necessarily that we are leaving the South Node behind or we're turning our back on it, but rather we can draw on it to help us to, over the course of our lifetime, move that much more and carry it, in some ways, carry the best of it forward with us.
Totally. And going towards the North Node, I'm not going to lie to you, it's not an easy job. It's not. Okay. We might say, let's flow with it, let's go with it. No, it isn't an easy job. And as I say sometimes to my clients, I say, you don't necessarily have to, you don't have to go there. I mean, if you really don't want to, don't. But if you have to, then your soul will do whatever it needs to drag you there, like it was for me. But it is not, I don't know whether it's everybody's destiny to really get there, because it isn't, and as I said, depending on how supportive and also how you've been supported as maybe as a child, as an adult growing up, right? If you had the support, then you will have more confidence going somewhere. And if you haven't had, or you've had many traumas or whatever, then of course the journey is tougher. But the whole point is we don't have to deny where we come from. And this applies not just for South Nodes.
Right. That's very powerful. Yeah, because I think sometimes we want to like literally turn our back on where we've been before, but we don't necessarily need to do that. Like if we are approaching what I like to call, of course, in my terminology, it's love and wisdom. So if you are looking at your life from the perspective of love and wisdom, then in some way you are drawing on the best of those past experiences and how they might strengthen you now and help you to fulfill more of what it is that you're meant to do in this lifetime.
Totally. It's a bit of a journey of self-acceptance globally, and of course that can take a lifetime to accept oneself.
Yes.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of work sometimes to have that level of self-acceptance or an awareness of self-worth, right? To know that you're okay just as you are. That's a tough one for a lot of people, especially in a world and in our context, in our environments where we're told no, more, be different, strive, reach, constantly reach. I think for a lot of people, again, in the modern context, especially, it's almost like we feel guilty for not striving for those moments when we do think, okay, maybe I'm okay just as I am. We judge ourselves, and we judge ourselves based on the definitions of others. Going back to what you were saying earlier, you were talking about how for some people, I'll give you an example. I remember hearing a story of a woman. Well, I have so many stories related to this. I'll give you an example of a
sure
client.
You have. I'm sure
I know, right?
Have.
All the charts and things I've read and the things that people had told me. There many, many years ago, as a young astrologer, right? Starting my professional practice, I remember there was a young lady who came and she was so impressive. So she had just gotten out from university. She was in her early 20s. And she, had this incredible dynamism to her. And she had a lot of placements in Capricorn, including her ascendant. So lots was going on there. And she came and she said, I want to be a business tycoon, and this is what I want to do and everything. Now, for those who are students of astrology, I saw this was right when Pluto had moved into Capricorn. And so I saw that Pluto was going to start moving over all those Capricorn placements very soon. And it was going to be a really intense, like 12-year period for her, where it's just all these big planets are going to be hit by Pluto. And I said to her, look, if you want that, you can get that for sure. Like of course you have it, but I just think you're going to want something different. And so I remember saying that to her. And then what ended up happening, because I followed her on social media and stuff, but it was a couple of years after that, she got pregnant when she didn't anticipate getting pregnant. And it was a real shock to her. But she decided that she wanted to follow that path. And now, like all these years later, she's got a bunch of kids. She's a housewife and she loves it. Like as soon as she had her kids, she realized like, oh my God, this is what I've been looking for. This is what I've wanted to feel all this time. And so it's a very beautiful thing to see somebody embrace that. It was almost like she turned away from what she thought she was supposed to want for all kinds of reasons, her messaging and the desire for the mask of power. And instead, she trusted her own experience, and her own experience showed her that, no, actually, she wants something different. And she has a beautiful life with all these kids now. And she's very, very happy. So yeah, it's interesting that we can be told that we should always want more and we should have it all and want it all. And yet everything is not for everybody. And if we can trust at least what it is that feels like it's moving us in a direction of some peace, of some happiness, of some contentment, then we might be on the right track, even if it seems like it's other people judging it may not necessarily think that. What's right for you in a way that no one else can. And I think from what you described about the South Node, North Node pulls, that can be a powerful way to explore exactly what that might be, your truth, your definition of moving forward.
The trouble with that, I totally agree. The trouble with that is that sometimes what feels right is not what it's supposed to be. And this is sometimes where it becomes difficult, because sometimes it feels right. And if you can manage, as you say, to cut off what society is telling you, that you should always be better, you should strive towards this. So if you manage to cut that off and something feels right, you might think, okay, I'm on the right path. Unfortunately, sometimes it isn't that way, because if your South Node is so strong, it can feel very right where you are, but it's not at all, it's not enough.
Wow.
So your story, they said, is, for me, it's like the opposite story. Do you want to hear it or not?
Yeah, tell me.
Okay, I won't go in length, but when I got pregnant, for me, I was like, yay! I didn't know so much about the South Node at the time, right? But I was like, yay! This is what feels right. I wasn't planning to, but anyway, when it happened, I was like, yay! This is what I always wanted. Although I wasn't ready for it, I was too young. So anyway, all I want to be is, I want to have my family. I want to be a mother. I want to have my little family. I was like, yeah, so maybe that's it. So it felt right. But it wasn't totally my path. I encountered my partner passed away. When I had my child, I went to live a place where I knew nobody, and I was alone most of the time. So even if it felt right, because I had sort of my dream, which was sort of in my South Node sort of thing, it felt right, but it wasn't like my end path. And even all that journey of like motherhood and family life has been very, very, the word isn't difficult. It was like everything is telling me, Roubina, remember, this is only a bit, right? You are supposed to be going somewhere else.
It's amazing that you have that awareness of being able to listen to that and to trust that.
No, I wasn't trusting it. I'm telling you, my South Node pull was very pulling. Because remember, I was a choreographer, a mother, and that was enough. Mm-hmm. I had to go through many breakups, many traumas, more traumas than I already had before, illness, and then, and only then. So when people come to me, I was like, please don't wait till your soul drags you down, because I managed to get up because it was my job to learn how to self-heal. But it's not everybody's mission. And some people don't get the help. Some people, I don't know, for whatever reason. So sometimes I say, if something feels totally right, then you shouldn't be coming and you shouldn't come and have a consultation with me, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, normally people come because you're a healer, you're a spiritual guide. They come because they are wanting healing. They're wanting spiritual guidance. Yeah.
Yeah, and they know that even if, let's say, they're, just to give an example of family life, whatever, even if somehow this is their dream and sometimes this is what they want, or it can be the opposite as your client, they're like, I've got power and I've got this and I've got that, and this is what I want. And it feels right. It's not that it feels right. Sometimes it is, I want it. But my soul is telling me something else. And this is where the pull comes about, and this is where it can be tricky, and this is where I'll try to help you guys.
Yeah, to understand that much more fully. Well, Roubina, once again, she will be at Synchronicity University, and for a very limited time, you can choose your tuition rate as low as just $5 a class. And she's part of the January 2023 speaker series. Incredible speakers, part of this 5-week series. I hope you guys absolutely love it. And Roubina, thank you. Thank you for sharing so much of yourself and the way in which you've really contemplated and wanted to explore philosophically, understanding where we've been, how we're rooted, but also where we're going. It's just so fascinating, and I'm really looking forward to your talk.
Thank you very much, Nadiya. Thank you, and welcome, everybody.
And thank you, everybody out there, for watching. Until we connect again, take care. Bye.